second wave. We set a record yesterday. 160,000 people got the COVID virus, and now over 1,500 people are dying a day. So far, 11 million people has gotten it, 250,000 people has died. So in other words, about 2.5% of our population is dying from COVID. So it's the number one killer this year. There's nothing to play with. I believe God, I'm not saying God put it out there, because of course God had allowed it to happen because he allowed everything. But I was going to give a message today on how God used plagues and pandemics to be glorified or let people know that he's there. And we got it all through the Bible. We talked about, we'll talk about that later. But that's not the message that God wanted me to give today. Now the second thing I'm going to talk about is this, and this is kind of personal. And this is what God has put on me, my spirit, all week. I couldn't even sleep one night. I got up 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to basically preach this word to myself because it was on me so strong. I've never done that. Normally if something come on me, I start typing it up. I use my computer, I type down whatever I hear in my head. And then I go back and put it together, and then that's how I give a message. But this time, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've been going back out to Savannah Riverside. Normally I get up at 4 o'clock anyway. So I was up from 3 to 4 with this in my head, and I was speaking it out. It was so strong on me, I had to talk it out. I basically gave the message I'm going to give on the 6th of December to myself that night. And the Holy Spirit was just telling me what to say. It wasn't nothing coming from me. Last time that happened was when I was told to come here. It hasn't happened since. So I know the difference when something is regular or something is strong. And God is trying to tell me to do something, and he ain't got time for me to play around with it either. Now, like I said, it's kind of personal. Now, y'all know throughout the years that I've been here, one of the things I've been doing is giving financial Bible classes on Wednesday nights. I've been doing that since I've been here. And the reason why I do that, I don't have to do that. God told me to teach his people how to manage their money and be good stewards over it. So those who came, y'all know what I'm talking about. And for those who didn't come and they saw the flyers out there, the handouts, you can always pick it up and read it. I believe through those financial Bible classes, we have helped people here. Because if not, it wasn't because we didn't put out what God told us to do. It's just that you didn't execute what God wanted you to do with it. But what I'm going to talk about on the 6th of December, which is next time I'm scheduled to preach, God willing. And this is what God told me to preach about. And then the message today is going to be a prelude to that, and that's why I didn't preach the message about how God used plagues and pandemics for his will. When I'm going to talk about 6th December, now some people may look at this as being kind of bragging, but it's not bragging. I always say when you talk about somebody getting blessed, when you talk about it and you show it to tell other people, it's bragging on God because he's the one that did it. No one else. He want me to share this message with you because I've been telling y'all every time I talk to you, one other thing I'm troubled about too is how the God's prosperity message is being preached. I've been saying it's been hijacked. They tell you the scriptures, which is fine, but they don't tell you what to do. You got to take your faith in those scriptures and you got to do something with it. You got to execute it. Walking around with your hands out like man from heaven is not going to do it. Now God will bless you unconditionally on certain situations, but that's not what he wants you to do. We always talk about we take our faith and we have to take action with it. You can have faith all day, but if you don't do nothing with it, it's just sitting there. So he wanted me, because I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I'm not saying that I'm going to go somewhere anytime soon, but we don't know how long our time is, right? We all can leave early, like Renee did. We can be 80, 90, 90 years old and leave. Who knows? I'm just going to do what God tells me to do regardless. So I'm not saying that by me not giving this message now is one of my last things I want to do. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that at my age, 61, I can share things through my lifetime that me and Renee accomplished together by God blessing us. And he wants me to tell that. Not only, I've been telling y'all this over the years, but not in detail like I want to tell you. It's going to be detailed. I'm going to tell you everything. Now, 3 years ago, I gave a message on a Wednesday night about financial Bible class. Because that's what he called me to do on Wednesdays. For those who was here, I gave a financial Bible class called How to Become a Millionaire While Giving to God. I don't know if some of y'all remember that. I gave out a message. I gave a financial class on how to become a millionaire while giving to God. And the key word in that whole thing is what? While what? Giving to God. Now, I didn't tell you at that time that me and Renee was already millionaires. I didn't tell you that. So for one, Renee is a very private person. For those who don't know. Now she's open, she talk to you and all that stuff, but she don't tell you about all her business. And of course, I don't either. It wasn't nothing to hide. It was just something that we just feel like we just need to say. Well, all we said was if you follow what God told you to do in these messages and in those financial Bible class, you figure it out sooner or later. Me and Renee, and what this message is going to be called, Prophecy God's Way. How a young couple, subtitle, who met at Fort Bowen, Georgia in the early 20s, got married, started off in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 1-closet, 500 square foot apartment, and became millionaires by the time they was in their 50s. Now, this is, and then I'm going to talk about how they're 2 millionaires, and how we also started off in a 500 square foot apartment, and now how we ended up in a 5,000 square foot house. That's a big difference. And God be the glory for all of it. And what I'm going to talk about is how you can become a millionaire one way and 2 ways. We was millionaires 2 ways. One way, that's why the message is going to be short today, because I got to get this out because God is telling me to do it. I told Brother Jerry that this morning, because I told Brother Jerry last week that me and Renee were millionaires. He was the first person in this church to hear that. My father don't even know that. I said it, and God, and I don't know why I said it, because it wasn't intentional. We was talking about, I don't know how we got on this subject. So once I told him that, I kind of let it go. And then all week, it was on me. I couldn't get rid of it. Tell them everything, not some things, everything. So I've never said this before. So the reason why I'm saying this because prophecy messages are given all the time, but very few people get to the end result of it because they don't talk about how to do it. To me, that's the key. So when I come back on the 6th of December, I'm going to be giving out, and I'm asking Marcella if she got any of those tickets left. Do you have any of those? We're going to have some giveaways. And one, I'm going to give away 3 books. And somebody's going to enjoy it, and they're going to win it. I'll give it to them. And those 3 books are, and this is a book that changed my life in 1983. Because it was God's way of showing me how to manage the money that we made. And I shared that book with Renee, and then we went with it from there. Larry Burkett, now Larry, I know him. Larry, I talked about him periodically. He founded Crown Financial Ministries, and his mission in life was to teach people how to manage God's money while giving to God. So that book I'm going to give out. Now that book has been revised, so I got the revised copy. He's dead now. He died, but I think he died in the 90s, if I remember right. the early 20s, early 2000s. He's been dead like 15, 20 years. Second book, somebody who's currently on the radio. You can hear him on WGAC every night at 10 o'clock. Or you can go to his podcast or his website here anytime you want to. It's Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is talk about how to manage your money using Bible scriptures. He's very into how to deal with the Bible. Third book I'm going to give is going to be a somewhat purely secular book, but it'd be Clark Howard. I know I listen to Clark Howard all the time. He comes on every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock for an hour. And I listen to his podcast all week because I walk my neighborhood when it's light enough. I walk my neighborhood for 2 hours. I walked in yesterday for 2 hours. And then I listen to him the whole time. And other things too, ministries, and just give me time to just clear my head and listen to all kinds of stuff. Those are going to be given away. Also, that message that I gave 3 years ago on how to become a millionaire while giving to God, I'm going to print copies of that. And we're going to get it out again. I'm just going to update it and put a new date on it. Now, what God told me to do, and the reason why I had to wait to get this message, I was going to give it today, but God told me not to give it today. Because he wants this thing to be out there on the internet. But he told me to find somebody that's going to put it out there live. I found somebody, and we're going to talk about this week. Now, hopefully he'll be able to do it on the 6th. And we're going to use Renee's Facebook page. The reason why I want to use her page to get it out there is one of the means because her relatives are on that page. I want them to hear it. I want to hear our military friends to hear it. And a lot of the church members are connected to her. Because this is not about world outreach in this situation. It's about me and her and what God wants us to put out. And I'm going to end it with this. We're going to talk about 5 things. I'm going to talk about 5 things. I'm going to keep it short because it's going to be bullets. So you need to bring a pencil and a paper. And I suggest that you invite young couples who either want to listen to it on the internet or want to be here to hear it because we can space out if the church is big enough. It's 5 things. How we made it. How we did it. First, we're going to talk about how we invested in God. Tithes, offering, ministry. How we left and came down here. 2, we invested in ourselves. Now, this is not bragging, but me and Renee both have master's degrees. Renee, before she died, was 4 classes short of her doctorate. And how 2 people who came from humble beginnings. I grew up in Terrace Manor neighborhood, working class neighborhood. I was blessed to have both my families, but we didn't have a lot of money. 4 kids. Until I was 13 years old, we lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. But then God blessed my family in order to make that house bigger because it's tight in there, especially when you got 2 other kids coming along. Now, as y'all know, Renee grew up with 7 sisters and brothers. She was the 8th child, and a single mother. In St. Louis, in the inner city, which is another name for the ghetto. How did she make it? So God is telling you and us, no matter what your race is, no matter where you come from, you can do it. It's a matter of whether you want to do it or not. We had no intention of doing this. It just happened. Now, like I said, we're going to talk about how we invested in God, how we invested in ourselves through education and through ministry. Third thing is how we put our money together and did a budget. First thing we did when we first got together, I told Renee we're going to put our money together in one account. I'm going to trust you and you're going to trust me. If that wasn't the case, why are we getting married in the first place? That's the third thing. The fourth thing is how we invested what we got from God. How we bought stocks, bonds, real estate, gold, silver, savings bonds, savings account. How we did it. 3 401k plans. IRAs, and pensions. Fifth thing I'm going to talk about is how we invested in our marriage. When you invest in your marriage, everything works. If your marriage is ate up, nothing works. So those are the 5 things I'm going to discuss. They're going to be kind of hit and run stuff, but I will go into detail. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to tell you, when I realized that we was a millionaire, I had one of my cousins come to my house on the 4th of July. I do a 4th of July family reunion every year. So he was walking around my neighborhood, and he went down to the Savannah River. I walked from my front door to the Savannah banks of Savannah River. Is 5 minutes to the docks. He came back to me. He said, "You a millionaire, ain't you?" I didn't answer him. I just kind of smiled. He said, "These houses out here are at least $500,000 higher, right?" I didn't answer him. I just smiled. He knew, but I didn't tell him. Because for one, if I would have told him, Renee would have had a fit. And the last thing I want to do, y'all don't have to see Renee have a fit. Believe me, you don't want to see her have a fit. So, because there's certain things that we kind of kept to ourselves, because we didn't want people to, sometimes when you're successful, people will hate on you for whatever reason. We know this. So why give them more what? Ammunition to hate on you more. And I can tell when the person don't like what we have, because I can tell by their demeanor, how they act. Because people don't know that they face and how they act tells everything. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna stop like I said before. And when it really hit me, I know it's hard in here, I'm gonna do a quick message, it ain't gonna take long. It was when my neighbor across the street listed his house for $1.1 million, directly across the street. And I said to myself, now how could he list his house for $1.1 million? I thought he was crazy. Because I hadn't paid attention to the value of our house. I went out there and looked. I looked at 3 different places. And then what else got me was my insurance company sent me the update for our house. And I noticed on the thing, it said that we're going to insure your house for $1,100,000. I said, wait a minute, why are you doing that? I said, I didn't pay that. She said, no. She said, the reason why we're doing it because you signed up, which I did, to have my insurance go up based on what they think the house would be worth. If it burnt down, they had to rebuild it. So she said they would cost you $1 million to rebuild this house on the same lot, and we're going to cover $100,000 of stuff that's on the inside. That's where the 1.1 come from. Those 2 things made me realize that we was, just on paper, we was millionaires. And then that's not counting the rental property we have. Just from real estate alone, we were worth $1 million. Now, that's one type of million. Second type of million is when you can access $1 million from your assets. And that's when you know you're what are called a net worth or true millionaire, because you can pull out $1 million from different things. I did the calculation. I'm going to tell you in detail that we are millionaires 2 ways. One, just from real estate alone, we're already over $1 million. But also we can pull out $1 million if in different ways, if I had to do it, which I won't do. Now, of course, Brian, my son, he would inherit everything we have. I will leave some stuff to my nieces who we have raised. They don't know this, but it will be something will be left to them. And me and Brian just have to go over all this stuff. We're going to talk about it for a little bit, but I've got to go into details because I have records I got to go over. So much stuff. Now, how can a young couple start off with a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 1-closet house, and you can imagine a 1-closet with Renee stuff, that wasn't going to work, and ended up where we're at now, doing it God's what? What way did we do it? God's way. It wasn't our way, it was God's way. And it's not impossible to get done. Because see, I think